Recently, Palantir's Alex Karp was asked a question that was a bit of an awkward question at the last 30 seconds of his talk at the WEF, World Economic Forum, in Davos. Let's take a look at how he answered that question, and then I'm going to discuss why I think there are 3 reasons for why he answered that question perfectly.
Korea, I'm a chairman of Daesun Group, which is one of the largest energy company in Korea. As a CEO, I've been dealing with many software companies and consulting companies, and I have always been very disappointed, especially because not only because of the result, but also compared to the price they charge for me. And I Googled and tried to find the mission and vision of your company, and frankly speaking, it's too good to be true what is said in Google.
Well, let me tell you, since we have limited time, we have great partners in Korea. You are right to be disappointed by software. Almost all software is either a PowerPoint or something disappointing. We live from people like you.
Okay, so the question I have is, how do you price your service?
And I'll tell you, we're very expensive. You know why we're very expensive? Because someone like you is greatly skeptical and think it'll be not valuable. And when we show you it's very valuable, we expect you to pay us a lot of money.
Okay, right here.
We're not cheap. And part of the problem is the people that are selling you their software cheaply are selling you a PowerPoint or a steak dinner or, I'm a fan of Korean art and Korean food. They're like, great kimchi jjigae, and the software sucks.
So what a moment for Karp to bust out some historical knowledge there to relate to that audience member. Now, we had a debate about this on my Palantir Weekly podcast, and I'll link the description. I'll link the video in the description for you guys to see the full debate. But some of the co-hosts didn't like that exchange. They thought that Karp messed up, and their sort of prime argument for why they thought Karp messed up was because he exposed the pricing of Palantir as being too expensive. He flat out said, hey, we're too expensive, and or not we're too expensive, but we are very expensive. And as a result of that, the co-host that I was debating with simply thought that Karp was basically telling a lot of C-suite executives that were watching that, hey, don't come to us, we're too expensive. If you want to talk to someone about cheap software, you can talk to other people, but don't come to Palantir. And that was, the crux of their argument. I thought their argument did not make any sense, and it was a fun little debate we had back and forth, but it inspired me to talk a little bit more about why I think Karp really did a phenomenal salesmanship job at that moment. Karp does not come off as someone who's a used car salesman to me, a charlatan. He is someone who speaks the truth. He's someone that tells you directly what you need to hear. And whether you like it or not, whether he closes the deal or not, he is someone that is going after the deal in a way that is authentic. And I think that is the key to being a good salesman. I have had experience in sales. I've done debate competitively. When I was in high school, I was one of the top 7 debaters in the United States of America. I was on the national USA debate team. So my entire 4 years of high school, and including college when I became a debate coach and started my consulting company, was primarily rooted in, can you speak and communicate in a way that gets other people to, in this case, vote for you versus pay you, as I was in debate. When I started my consulting company, I had to sell my services to people that wanted consulting from me, and I had to close them on deals. And I'll never forget the first time I closed an $800 per month contract for 12 months, which is $9,600. It's, a $10,000 contract for me at, I think I was 20 years old, was absolutely insane. And the reason I was able to close that deal over FaceTime is because I was authentic. I was myself. I gave, an argument to the people that wanted to, do business with me, and I closed the deal, and it was pretty awesome. And I recently just ended up raising $330,000 for my startup, Audia.io. We're trying to become the YouTube of audio. I had to go through many, many meetings. I think over 200 pitches. Some of them I closed, some of them I didn't close, but we ended up closing, around $330,000. And in those meetings, I also had to pitch. I had to sell myself. I had to be a salesman for my idea, for my vision, to get people to invest, and they had to believe in my vision. So my experience in sales led me to believe that I think Karp did a pretty good job, and here's sort of the core 3 reasons for it. Number 1, the guy in that moment, as you can see, said, I've been failed by software in the past. And when I Googled you guys and I saw the mission and vision of your company, it was basically too good to be true. Now, I've had this experience as well. I recently paid for a software that cost about $500 per year. And when I found the software, I thought it was too good to be true because they had a particular API, which is an application programming interface that I needed to do my work. And I couldn't find it for the past couple months. And so when I stumbled upon them ironically from a Google search, it was the first result. I just Googled something differently and I found it. I was like, oh my goodness. where do I sign? How fast can I pay for this? And how can I get this implemented immediately? And it's completely changed my work. It's made me way more efficient and productive. Like, I can't imagine my life without that software now. So at a smaller level, I'm not the CEO of a company that's managing a ton of energy in South Korea. I do relate to this idea of how software can make your life better. And in that position, when he said, hey, I've been failed by software and your software seemed too good to be true, the first reason I think Karp did a great job by pointing out how expensive the software was he answered one of the most fundamental questions around salesmanship, which is, what's the catch? What is the catch? If you're selling me something that is super expensive, why is it so expensive? If you're selling me something that's super expensive or perceived super expensive, but it's cheap, why are you selling it to me that's cheap? If you're selling me something that's way too cheap, why is it so cheap? In this case, the guy was like, this software seems too good to be true. Essentially, he was asking, without literally asking, what's the catch? And Karp answered. He said, we're expensive. We are expensive. That's the catch. And immediately what I think this does from a psychological perspective is it decreases the level of skepticism you have over a product, because now you're like, well, it's not too good to be true. It's good because it's expensive, which is why it's true. If it was software that costs $200 a month and there's no way it can do the job. Like, you would expect to be paying more. You expect to pay more for a Ferrari or Mercedes, right? Like, there's a perceived level of brand there. There's a perceived level of usage in the car that's better. Like, Teslas should be a little bit more expensive than your average car because they do more things. And so at that level, when you're answering and you're giving a response to the subliminal question of what's the catch, I believe from a sales perspective, you are stopping a lot of skepticism, and we can even move forward in the conversation. So that's the first thing I think that Karp did that was really good. Number second, the other reason I think he did a good job by saying that we are expensive, he made a statement. In that moment, you have 30 seconds, you have a big audience, like when you're doing exchanges with the audience, you want to have a memorable exchange. And I can pretty much guarantee that every person that was at the World Economic Forum that responded to a question from an audience member said something boring. And like, Karp could have easily said, oh, well, don't worry about the money. We'll talk about it afterwards. We'll give you a demo and you can see what it feels like. But in that moment, he said, well, let me tell you, we're expensive because every other piece of software you've used has been a PowerPoint. And as a result of it being a PowerPoint, and like, it's such a demeaning thing to call these things PowerPoints, but it shows you the level of confidence that Karp has in his ability to sell his product, is that if all these things are PowerPoints, then we are not the PowerPoint, therefore we expect you to pay us more. That is a statement. If anything, if I'm a C-suite executive that's thinking of integrating a modern operating system into my enterprise, and I come across Palantir and I see the CEO say, hey, we're expensive for a reason, I am more intrigued than turned off. And maybe I'm wrong about this. Maybe there's other C-suite executives that disagree, but and they have to manage money, they have budgets, I get it. But at the end of the day, the job has to get done. You've got to solve an issue. And it's not easy to solve an issue, especially when that issue is taking up a lot of time, taking up a lot of money. It's making your employees more unproductive. If this thing solves your issue and you're willing to pay something for it, and in the actual sales call, you can do negotiations, you can structure a deal, you have different payment plans. But if the thing solves the problem and it will take your business to the next level, you are willing. I think any C-suite is willing to pay a premium for that. What C-suites hate is paying for something that doesn't get the job done and, just buying some crappy software and then their employees don't even use it. And it's like, well, why do we even do this in the first place? Why wouldn't we take more time to make a better decision, to get a better piece of software integrated within our organization and then move forward? And so at that moment, I think Karp needed to make a statement. He absolutely made it a statement. And a lot of people were, honestly thinking about that statement for a while. Final reason that I think Karp did a really good job in salesmanship is he left the prospect wondering for more. At the end of the day, if I say, hey, this is going to be pretty expensive, but it's going to get the job done, I'm left wondering, well, at least now I got to know why it's so good, right? So there's something in salesmanship, this is where it's like, okay, you're close to closing a deal. Someone's already warm. They said they Googled you. They like you. They think it's too good to be true. And now you say, well, we're expensive. Now that person has no choice but to wonder for why it's so expensive, which means they do more of their own due diligence before they actually get into the sales call. And number two, they're more likely than not going to take the call. I mean, getting people into a meeting, first of all, is one of the hardest things to do when it comes to sales, when you're breaking down a client or where you're trying to get a client to close on a deal. And in order to do that, you need to get them to be curious. You need to get them to wonder. When I was pitching my startup, before I even announced what the actual startup was, and I was, trying to see if investors would be interested, I said, hey, I think there's a massive gap in the audio space. And as a result of there being a massive gap in the audio space, I think I have the solution to this problem. A lot of investors, I'm assuming, who consume audio content, business, podcasts, etc., they're like, you know what, I really haven't cared that much about audio, or I haven't actually used an application that made me feel excited about finding and discovering new audio content. Maybe this kid is up to something. And then you add in the persona of, YouTube, and I've been able to build a little bit of an audience, and people have saw I went from 0 to 10,000 in like 3 months. It's like, how did you do this? And it's like, well, if you were able to do that, what are you able to do with a company that might be big? So there was all these different things that added to curiosity. That didn't mean I closed every investor that wanted to meet with me, but a lot of investors wanted to meet. And in that meeting, then it was just a question of how well can I close the deal? So I think getting someone to be exciting, getting someone to be curious, getting someone to actually care about what you're offering, that is all a part of sales psychology. I mean, it's even simple things like dating at the end of the day. Like, you want the other person to be excited to know who you are. You want them to be wondering a little bit. You don't want to give everything away. You want to be a little bit of a mystery. You want to be a little bit of an enigma. You want them to wonder, hey, like this person's interesting. I want to know more about, I want to get to know a little bit more about who they are and see if there's actually something here. That is exactly what's happening in a sales relationship. You're dating that person until you can finally close the deal. And they've got to be interested enough to keep dating you. And I think Karp's response was something that did not disappoint that person in terms of a level of interest. Karp could have said a lot of other things that could have got that person to be like, whatever. But Karp said, no, we're expensive. And you're going to pay us more because you're going to see how good we are. That person is taking that meeting. And that meeting might lead to a deal off of a 30-second pitch of Alex Karp simply saying, we're expensive and most software is trash, our software is good. And I think Palantir agrees, because they're now taking that 30-second clip and they're running it with ads because they thought that pitch was good. And I would agree. I think a lot of people that see that are going to think that that pitch can get a deal done. Thank you for listening, watching. Let me know your thoughts. Did Alex Karp mess up? Did he ruin this salesmanship? Did he totally botch the scenario? Or did he actually close the deal, or get close to closing a deal in a way that's a little bit unconventional, but actually fits all of the requirements when it comes to sales psychology? Let me know what you think. So thank you so much for listening and watching. I will see you guys in the next one.